Well, hey, this is Josh Shepard here with What's on Disney Plus, filling in for Roger, who is normally, of course, our host out of the United Kingdom, and he'll be back. But I'm excited to have a special opportunity to speak with the two co-directors of Own the Room, a new film that is coming out this Friday on Disney Plus. Our first co-director is Cristina Constantini. Cristina, great to
Hi.
have you.
Hi, great to see you.
And also Darren Foster.
Good to see you, Josh.
Thank you. And these two also were the co-directors of Science Fair, which is now on Disney Plus and is also a phenomenal film. And actually, we argue back and forth at the What's on Disney Plus team about which one is better, because a lot of us have now gotten to see both. But this is a phenomenal film. Y'all are all going to enjoy it. I'm really excited to jump in here and talk to the directors. But to start us out, Roger and I and others, we really believe that people often forget all the amazing documentary content that's on Disney Plus. It's like we focus on the Star Wars and Marvel and the animated stuff. And so, Cristina, if you were to think about a documentary on there that you have enjoyed, what kind of stands out to you on Disney Plus?
Yeah, I really love the Imagineering story. I think it's an incredible tale of how this whole empire of Disney World and Disneyland and how it was all built and the imagination behind it. And I highly recommend it.
I do as well. It is a phenomenal docuseries. People should absolutely check it out. Darren, any documentary that stands out to you on Disney Plus?
Oh man, I mean, there's so many great ones, but I would have to say I love Free Solo, which follows the story of Alex Honnold's ascent of El Cap, which is, it's harrowing. It's a great ride, and I highly recommend it.
Absolutely. It is a phenomenal climbing film. Well, this new movie, Own the Room, took place, I know, at the Global Student Entrepreneur Awards here in 2019, so just before the pandemic. Really amazing that you guys followed all these student entrepreneurs around the world in this journey. And this plays out really on a much grander scale than your previous documentary, Science Fair. All the different nations that are represented here. What would you say kind of changed from Science Fair? Either one of you want to start?
Well, I mean, I will say, the big difference is that, this is basically what happens to science fair kids after they graduate high school and move on to college in many ways. These young student entrepreneurs, reminded us a lot of, the students we spent time with for science fair at a later stage in their life. And as they are taking on and starting new businesses, and, from the production point of view, it was, a whirlwind sort of trip around the globe, because the 5 characters that we follow come from very disparate corners of the world, which was, from a production standpoint, really thrilling to be able to do. Also because, the stories that we got to tell and meet their families and meet their friends and the business that they're starting. And it was just really incredible. And then obviously it all culminates in this big global competition that happens in Macau, China, which is an incredible backdrop for a film like this.
Cristina, some more to add there in terms of just the scope and how you started this production?
Yeah, it was a real a treat to be able to go to Macau and to be able to visit all of these kids in their hometowns. All of them are so inspiring, and they all made us laugh a lot. And so, after having been in quarantine for a year, it's amazing to look back and see. What we were able to do. It's amazing that we got the opportunity to go to all these countries. But we really wanted to celebrate young entrepreneurs, and we wanted to celebrate people who start their own businesses. It's very hard to be an entrepreneur. Half of all new businesses fail in the first 5 years. And so it takes a lot of bravery and a lot of hard work. And it was exciting to be able to see kind of the ups and downs of the journey of starting one's own business in these 5 different young people's lives. So I know all of them have a lot more to come, and we'll be watching them for a long time. So it's exciting to kind of be on the ground floor.
The challenge, of course, featured over 50 countries, and obviously you couldn't follow all of those. How did you choose sort of which entrepreneur students to highlight in the film? Because not all of them I know became finalists.
Yeah, I mean, it's the greatest challenge of making a documentary like this is trying to figure out who you're going to follow, and in many ways you're placing bets because you want to have characters that succeed and do well, but you also want to have stories that reflect different challenges and different issues around the world, and so that process was a pretty long one, but once we settled on these five, we were really confident that there was a good mix of stories. And obviously, we wanted to reflect different corners of the globe. So we have, Henry from Nairobi, Kenya. We have Daniela, who represents the US, but is from Venezuela. And then Alondra from Puerto Rico. And then Jason from Greece. And then Santosh, who's from Nepal. And, while their stories are all very different and their companies are very different, they all sort of share a common, desire, which is to sort of address, challenges and issues in their backyards, and I think that's what's really inspiring about all their stories.
So good. So maybe Cristina, if you want to tackle this next one, many people may be familiar with Shark Tank. And I kind of think of a shorthand way to describe this to people. I say kind of Shark Tank with college students in a sense. Obviously there's the $100,000 grand prize in a sense, and, award that people are going towards. How would you kind of say that this entrepreneur challenge is maybe similar and different than Shark Tank?
Well, I would say the kids are a lot nicer than Shark Tank and a lot more collaborative, and it's not as cutthroat. It was really exciting to be there, to be able to watch how all of the kids interact with one another. It's of course a competition, and everybody wants to win the money, but it was fun to see them when they weren't competing, swapping notes and talking to each other about their businesses and kind of brainstorming what they might do to help each other. And that was, it's of course a competition, but it was also very collaborative. And that was incredibly fun to see.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, it is a healthy competition environment. Everybody wants to win because, the challenge that all these companies face and all new companies face is just basically, the capital, the money that you need to sort of give you a runway to see if your idea could take off or not. And so, people go to Shark Tank, I guess, to stare down Mark Cuban. But, in this realm, there's this whole world of business competitions that are really vital for young entrepreneurs who may have a great idea but really need the investment to get it off the ground. So GSEA is like one of the biggest and most prestigious of these competitions, and it also happens to be global. It's open to kids all around and students all around the world, and so that was really compelling for us as a starting point for a documentary.
With all the different nations and obviously stories that you're following in the film, were you all physically in the various countries that are represented, or were there crews? Did you have a second unit or third unit out there? It's like logistically, there must have been a lot of challenges.
Yeah, one of us went to, either Darren or I were in every hometown, or both of us. And I think both of us were on the Nepal trip together, which was a lot of fun. The team was a lot of fun. The country is a lot of fun. Santosh basically started this business with his 5 best friends, and so it's a bunch of young dudes like trying to make people happy for a living, and by throwing them surprises. So watching them do that and following them during that process was probably, I think, the most fun that we had in production.
That's too great. I guess you could almost say it's sort of a mashup of Amazing Race and Shark Tank, because you're getting a feel for these cultures around the world is what's so impressive about it. And I think an important element there is even the families of the contestants that you get to meet. I mean, the way I felt that you went into the home in Greece were some really powerful scenes of getting to know that family and his kind of environment there. Were you there, Darren, or was Cristina?
Yeah, I took Jason's story for this one, and yeah, you're right. I mean, I think to sort of like, build these students, these characters, in a more three-dimensional way, you want to sort of understand a little bit where they're coming from. And so, that includes, talking to their family and hearing about their influences. And obviously family is a huge influence on all of us. And so, for Jason in particular, being the son of, two small business owners, much like Cristina is, this daughter of two business owners, it had a really profound impact on his life. And then there was unfortunately his father became ill when Jason was starting university, and he sort of had to take over the family business, before he was probably prepared to. But then he also had his own aspirations to start his own business. And so, that conflict, within him, I think is, what very much sort of drives Jason's, ambition to start his own company.
Well, of course, they all make it to Macau, except you do have this student from Nairobi, and that whole situation of the visa and all the holdup that happened there. And it's interesting how you left that in the film. It's a major point of drama and interest. Could you comment on sort of that chapter and aspect of the film?
Yeah, it was a more fun chapter looking back than it was while we were going through it. We had known and loved Henry for so long and saw, just how hard he worked to get there. And then, to get the text late at night, I think Darren got a text late at night that he wasn't going to be allowed in. It was heartbreaking. I mean, it was really terrible, and we're glad it ended up how it did. But this was one of many hurdles that Henry has had to jump over to be able to pitch, and it was very unfortunate. And I'm glad he had to work twice as hard to get to Macau as everyone else.
It's incredible. Well, just a couple of questions left. This has been really tremendous, and I hope people do check out the film. Of course, Own the Room here coming this weekend on Disney+. And of course, not to spoil the ending about who really takes home the prize and everything, but as we think about kind of even emotionally where the contestants were at, are there any scenes maybe that didn't make the film perhaps about either their disappointment or their excitement? I know, for instance, for Daniela, it was a big deal that her mother was there, that there was a personal aspect to kind of the story that unfolded for her in Macau. But any thoughts on kind of what was going on, with the contestants and how as they were leading up to this?
Yeah, I mean, Danielle's story is a really compelling story and a really powerful story because in many ways, it's an immigrant story. It's a story of someone fleeing Venezuela, which is, sort of suffered a lot in the last, 5-10 years, a lot of social unrest. And it basically became difficult for Daniela to sort of pursue her dreams there, and she came to the U.S. And entered a doctorate program at NYU. But the whole time she had her mother back in Venezuela, and she speaks I think really powerfully about what it's like to be an immigrant in this country, which is like you have your day-to-day work that you have to do, but one half of your mind is always back home, and obviously the person that she's closest to in the world is her mother, is her best friend, and so that storyline just became really, it was really resonated with us, and to see on camera there them being reunited was just a really powerful moment because you knew how much it meant to Daniela.
Absolutely. Cristina, any moments from behind the scenes that stand out to you as you think about sort of the final contestants and those final stages of the awards ceremony y'all were filming?
No, I mean, it was amazing to be able to be there, and I think what we were getting a little teary-eyed as well when the awards were announced. So it was so much fun to have. It was such a packed few days, and to have it end the way it did was really a joy for all of us.
I did think it was really interesting how other contestants who weren't even finalists perhaps, but they said, wow, this is all of us winning, to see our friends up there. So like you say, there's such a camaraderie maybe that's different than some of these, kind of fierce dog eat dog kind of competitions.
Exactly. Yeah. No, everybody was friends. And so I think, when I don't, when Danielle won, I think it was for everybody we were following, for almost all the kids, it was the best thing that could have happened. So it was really fun.
Well, to close us out here, just kind of a big question, because you did touch on a lot of things about entrepreneurship and camaraderie, different things. What do you hope that viewers take away from the film here after watching this 90-minute movie? Do you think that there's some things they're going to get to kind of think about and grapple with deeper?
Yeah, I think we live during difficult times. We're all in our houses, and there's a lot of sadness in the world, and I think we all can use a little bit of hope and a little bit of joy. And it was certainly joyful for us when we were making this. And there's a lot of inspiring parts about the stories of all of these young students. And so I hope that this brings joy and hope to people who watch it, especially families. I think it's good for kids, and I think it really shows that you can come from anywhere, and you can, a lot of hard work and determination can get you very far.
Darren, in terms of big takeaways from the film, what do you hope that the audience is still thinking about afterward?
Yeah, I'll just paraphrase, Daniela, which is, there's a lot of companies out there. There's a lot of good ideas out there. And, somebody had that idea, somebody, started that business, so why can't it be you? And I think that's the message of the film, is that, we spend a lot of time complaining about problems in this world. But are you going to be the person who steps up and tries to make a difference? And that's what all these 5 students did, is that they stood up to try to make a difference in their communities and for the world at large. So I think that's the message of the film, and it's super inspiring, and it was super inspiring to make. So I hope it comes through in the film.
Absolutely. It really does. Thank you guys for your work on this film. It's an inspiring movie. I think it urges us on to action. It is entertaining, no question, and it's fast paced. But this is something that I think folks are going to take away something really meaningful from. So thank you both for Own the Room, that is out this weekend on Disney Plus from National Geographic and the team there. Thank you, Darren, and also Cristina.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Josh.
Josh.
My great pleasure. Well, this has been What's on Disney Plus. Of course, you can find us at whatsondisneyplus.com, and there will be much more to come here in the weeks ahead. So best you all.